Hello, and welcome to HEB ISD. This is part 1 of our elementary parent video series. There are 3 videos in the series, and they are all available in English, Spanish, Arabic, and French. All of these videos are brought to you courtesy of the HEB ISD Family Engagement Department. My name is Kelly Rawl, and I am the coordinator of Pre-K and Family Engagement. We want you to know that everyone in our department is only a phone call or email away. I can be reached by email at kellyrall@hebisd.edu. That's KELLYRALL at hebisd.edu, or by phone at 817-399-2083. You'll also be receiving monthly newsletters for our family engagement updates at the beginning of each month. If you're watching this video series, then you probably fit into one of 2 categories. Either you are the proud parent of a new pre-kindergarten student going to school for the first time, or you've just moved into our school district from another school district, state, or country. Sometimes moving from one school district to another feels like you have moved into another country, and we want you to feel comfortable about the school where your child or children will be attending. These videos are appropriate for either case. No matter what, we hope that this series helps you gain a better understanding of the HEB way of doing school. On the agenda for today, we have family engagement and why it's so important. We will take a look at 2 different calendars. We'll talk about our administrative staff as well as our school structures. We'll also share information about child nutrition and our Return to Learn plan. And we'll talk about the most common ways that the school district will be communicating with you. And then we'll also provide you information on how to get technical support should you need any of that this year. Why is family engagement so important? Typically, parents and guardians are very engaged early in their child's pre-K through 3rd grade education. However, the older their child gets, the more independent the children get, and so the parents kind of back off a little bit. However, we know from experience that even upper elementary and secondary level students still need their parent and family support. We know from years and years of research that students whose families are more engaged tend to make better grades, have better attendance, they're more likely to be promoted to the next grade level, they have better social skills and fewer behavior problems. Overall, they tend to like school more, and they are more likely to graduate and go into college, tech school, or the military. What you see here is the 21-22 school year. Every school district has a calendar that looks a little different, so I want to share with you what the colored squares mean on each of the months for the school year. The red squares are for student and staff holidays. The green squares indicate early dismissal. So elementary would dismiss at 11:50, junior high at 12:30, and high school at 12:45 on early dismissal days. The purple squares are early dismissal for high school only, and so that means that elementary and junior high would be in school for the entire day on the days with the purple squares. There are opening and closing brackets at the beginning and the ending of our 6 weeks reporting period. Our district calendar is available to you online on the HEB ISD website. So you can go to www.hebisd.edu and click on the calendar, and it will take you to a place where you can download this year's school district calendar. And as soon as the 22-23 calendar is ready, then it will be posted in the same location. Every school has its own calendar posted on the campus website. This is where they will post events planned for their campus. At the beginning of the school year, it might look empty like this one, but trust us, it will soon fill up with lots of important information and fun things for families and students to do. You might have heard people talk about the HEB way. We definitely do things a little differently around here, and one of those ways is how we structure our schools. We pride ourselves in being different by design, and one of the reasons, one example of how we're different by design is how we structure our schools. In elementary, we have pre-K through 6th grade still at the elementary school. In junior high, we have 7th through 9th graders. So our 9th graders are earning high school credit, but they are still housed at the junior high level. And then our high schools serve our 10th through 12th grade students. Our school hours for the elementary level are 7:50 a.m. to 3:05 p.m. It's important to note that the first bell rings at 7:40 and the late bell rings at 7:50. So your kiddo needs to be in school and in their seat by 7:50. If you're just dropping them off at the door at 7:50, then they're going to be counted tardy. We do count tardies for elementary students, and if you accumulate or your child accumulates too many tardies, then they will be you will receive a call from the school, and your child will at some point be bringing home a letter from the truancy department, and we never want that to happen. So that's why we make those phone calls first, to let you know that you have quite a few tardies built up. They will do the same thing with attendance. Attendance is very important. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but while we're still talking about the school hours, remember we talked about the early release days on the calendar. Well, on early release days, remember that elementary dismisses at 11:50 a.m., junior high dismisses at 12:30 p.m., and high school dismisses at 12:45 p.m. For more information about attendance, keep listening, but we do also have our school code of conduct posted on our HEB website. While all of our faculty and staff have very, very important jobs on campus, I want to share information about 4 of the people who work in the front office. Our principals are the top dog on every campus. They are our school leaders. They're visible on campus every day, and you might even see them opening doors and helping with dismissal at the end of the day. They do whatever needs to be done when it needs to be done. Our assistant principals are also very busy people. They interact daily with students, encouraging them to do their best. They handle discipline when necessary, and they coordinate all of the testing on campus. And these are just a few of the things that they do. They are very, very busy people. Then we have our counselors, and counselors evaluate student records and determine the most important programs and classes for students. They also offer a wide variety of counseling services at the school. The attendance secretary, otherwise known as the registrar, is the person that you call when your student is going to be absent. And it is very important that you make that call as early in the morning as possible when you realize that your student is going to be absent. So, speaking of absences, let's talk a little bit more about attendance. It is imperative that students attend school every day unless they are sick. That means every day, on time, and they stay all day. However, if your student is sick, they need to stay home. And we know that kiddos get sick. And of course, in this day and age with COVID-19, we have more kiddos being absent than normal. But if your student is going to be out of school for any reason, make sure that you call the attendance secretary or the registrar and report the reason for your child's absence. Students are usually allowed to make up work for excused absences. And if your student is absent for an unexcused reason, then he or she may not be allowed to make up their work. I hate to sound like a broken record, but daily attendance is very, very important. You must notify the school when your student is going to be absent. A note or a phone call or an email from a parent will be accepted as an absence notification. If you pick up your child early and bring them and take them to the doctor and then bring them back to school, or they return to school the next day, then you can send a note from the doctor's office that will note let the registrar know that it should be an excused absence. Excessive absences may prevent a student from being promoted to the next grade level. And if a student is absent for more than 3 days, then a doctor's note is required to return to school. After an excused absence, students are responsible for making up their own missed work. One of our core messages is that students are responsible for their own learning, and this is one of the ways that we encourage them to be responsible for their learning. It's important to note that the district may initiate withdrawal of a student for non-attendance if the student has been absent for 10 consecutive unexcused school days, or repeated efforts by the district truancy officer and or the principal to locate the student have been unsuccessful, or if a student who is 19 years or older has been absent for 5 unexcused days in one semester or trimester, they might also be withdrawn. A student shall not receive credit for class or for the school year unless they have maintained a minimum of 90% attendance in that semester or tri. Remember that attendance is a requirement under state law, and some of you might remember that pre-K and kindergarten are not required. So some students who go to first grade are going to school for the very first time in their whole life. However, if you do enroll your student in pre-kindergarten or kindergarten, once they are enrolled, all attendance policies apply. So just because it's not a grade level does not mean that just because it's not a state required grade level, does not mean that you're off the hook for attendance and tardies. It's still very, very important once you have enrolled your school to make sure that they are at school on time all day, every day, and that when they can't be, then you make sure that you notify the office. In order for students to reach their highest potential, they need a healthy brain. And what we feed our students for breakfast and lunch is part of ensuring that our students have a brain that is going to be highly functional during the school day. Our Child Nutrition Services Department, CNS, they are absolutely wonderful. They try their very best every day to provide hot and cold lunches. They provide breakfast, and they do their very best to make it appealing and tasty. You may purchase your student's lunch, but right now, because of COVID-19 and an ESSER grant that HEB ISD has, all breakfast and lunches are free for students for this entire school year. However, it's very important that everyone still fill out the application for free and reduced lunches. You never know. Even though you don't qualify for free lunches, your student might qualify for reduced lunches. And this is very important because it is one of the ways in which our schools are funded. And we use this data to help us qualify for Title I schools at 18 out of our 21 campuses. Without this funding, there would be a lot of services that would not be available to our students. And so we encourage everybody every year to fill out these applications. The application is all online, so there are no paper copies available. It is available in multiple languages, so please go onto the schoollunchapp.com to apply, and we wish you the best of luck in that respect. When we came back to school this year, all classes were in person and on campus. Every student was issued an electronic device. All pre-K through second grade students were given iPads, and third through sixth grade students were issued Chromebooks and laptops. If your family has multiple students, then each student was issued a device. The state of Texas requires us to have a plan and a process in place for how we do things that are related to health services, specifically COVID-19. And our plan is called the HEB ISD Return to Learn Plan. This plan is updated throughout the year. We do our best to notify parents when something has changed on the Return to Learn plan, but you are certainly welcome to check the HEB ISD website and look for the Return to Learn plan. It will always be posted in English and Spanish. If someone that your student interacts with closely comes down with COVID-19, then they will be considered a close contact with a confirmed case of COVID-19. If you are identified as a close contact, then you will be notified by the school nurse. In this case, families should monitor your students closely for any new symptoms, including major symptoms, including fever of 100 or more, and or chills, a persistent cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, and a new loss of taste or smell. If you have any one of those symptoms, then your child should stay home from school, and you might consider a COVID-19 test. There are other minor symptoms, so if your student is experiencing 2 or more of these minor symptoms, then again, your student should stay home and consider a COVID-19 test. Those minor symptoms include a sore throat, congestion or runny nose, diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Students without symptoms may remain at school if the student does not have symptoms. However, please keep your student home if they do not feel well. After having been confirmed with a case of COVID-19, students may return to school when they have been fever-free for 24 hours without the use of fever-reducing medications. The student has improved symptoms, for example, no more cough or shortness of breath, and at least 10 days have passed since the first symptoms appeared. It is imperative that everyone monitor yourselves and your children for any new or changing symptoms and seek medical care if you have one major symptom or 2 minor symptoms. Remember to monitor for symptoms daily. Your student may continue to attend school if he or she does not have one major symptom or 2 minor symptoms. Also, monitor for any worsening or chronic symptoms such as allergies. Allergies and colds are easily confused for COVID-19. It is just really hard to tell the difference. Seek medical attention and or get a COVID test if you have new or changing symptoms, or if the symptoms you have become worse and are not being managed with normal treatment. Be consistent with good hygiene habits, including washing your hands and covering your mouth and your nose when you're sneezing or coughing. And in HEB ISD, wearing a mask is optional. If that changes, a notice will be sent out to all HEB ISD families. Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about devices and distribution of devices and the agreement that students and parents need to sign when they are issued a district device. The district does not consider a cell phone or as an appropriate device to access online learning. Last spring, during the emergency closure, HEB ISD distributed devices to students who did not have access to a device at home. However, due to limited resources, the district was only able to issue one device per family at a time. This is no longer the case. Now we are a one-to-one district, and we have enough devices for all of our students. So if you have 2 students in at home, then you will get 2 devices. Along with each device comes an agreement on how to care for your district-issued device. Please read the technology use agreement and sign it and return it to school as directed by your child's teacher. These agreements are available in Arabic, French, and Spanish. And it is also important to note that families are responsible for lost or damaged devices. So if you do not return your device at the end of the school year, you will be hearing from someone encouraging you to locate the device and turn it in, or pay for the device itself. So please do your best to help your kiddo keep up with their devices. The number one goal of HEB ISD is student achievement. Communication between home and school is an essential component to student success. We have various ways to communicate with families and provide feedback to students and families. Here are some examples. Emails to your personal account, text messages if you agree to receive messages that way, phone calls home. Phone calls and text messages might be automated, while others will come from an individual person. Messages may be sent on Seesaw or Canvas. And in order to keep an eye on how your student is performing in class, you might sign up as an observer on Seesaw and Canvas, depending on the age of your student. And we do have some tips for being observers on your child's account. So we will post that alongside this video. Some teachers use messaging software as Remind 101, such as Remind 101, Class Tag, or Class Dojo. You will have to accept or decline an invitation to receive messages that way. Progress reports come home every 3 weeks. Report cards come home every 6 weeks. And families can monitor grades on the Home Access Center. If you do not have access to the Home Access Center, then contact your school, your child's school, and they will give you your login information. Here's just a little bit more information about communication between home and school. Remember that report cards do go out every 6 weeks, but once a report card has been issued, then the grades are final. So that's why we have progress reports that come out every 3 weeks. That way, at week 3, you'll know if your student is struggling, and you might need to help them seek some additional support. Home Access Center, again, is where you can observe your child's scores and grades, and there are directions posted on the HEB website for how to access the Home Access Center. Remember that points are deducted when assignment is turned in late, and if a student fails a test, he may or may not be allowed to retake the test for a higher score, depending on the test and the teacher. But it is the student's responsibility to ask about this option, and you have to know that this is not always possible. Also, remember that it is the student's responsibility to ask about making up grades or doing extra credit, doing additional work for extra credit, going to tutoring. Remember, one of our core messages is students are responsible for their own learning. And so we try to reinforce this even at the very early ages of pre-K and kindergarten. So it takes a long time for that to become a habit for students, and we start it as early as possible. If your child comes home and says, "Mom, Dad, I need somebody to sign my moose," don't worry, they haven't lost their marbles. The moose is a real thing. We use a binder system that we call our MOOS, which stands for Management of Organizational Skills Every Day. And the MOOS itself is a spiral notebook that has space for your child to write what they've worked on every day, or homework assignments, different projects. There are folders behind the spiral notebook, and this is where your child will put their notes home, their graded papers. They'll have a folder probably for things that they're currently working on or things that they're going to use every day in the classroom. So be sure to check your moose. Things that are in the graded paper folder can be taken out and kept at home. And this is our way of helping our students learn to be better organized. MOOS actually stands for Management of Organizational Skills Every Day, and it is a tool that we want students to use to help them keep track of homework assignments and papers and things like that. This is also be a place where the teacher might write a note home to you, so it's important for you to check the MOOS every day and initial that you've seen your child's MOOS. If your teacher does send a note, then be sure that you respond as needed. We really appreciate this option to communicate with families because some people are very comfortable with electronic communication while others are not. And so this is something that we have chosen to maintain, even though we have added the technology component to communication. Remember, we mentioned earlier that you can sign on or add yourself as an observer on your child's Canvas account. Here's how you do that. Go to your child's Canvas, click Account, and then click Settings. Then click on Edit Settings and scroll down to Ways to Contact. This is an important part of keeping up with course communications. Here you can add an email address so that you are notified by email if there's something going on. If you've set up the mobile app, then you'll see that here under Other Contacts, and you can even set up your phone to receive text message notifications as well. There's also a button at the end that says Pair with Observer. Here the guardian adds himself as an observer to follow up with the progress of his child's schoolwork. He can see all but limited to a few things, including the participation in any of the class assignments. Adding your name requires 8 steps. We mentioned 3 of them. Click on the link below to get the rest of the steps. And obviously, if you're watching this by video, you can't click on the link. So the best thing to do is to check the HEB website, because we do have instructions for families there on how to set yourself up as an observer. But how do you activate your notifications? So signing up for notifications isn't the last step. Then after you sign up, you actually have to activate your notifications. To do this, you click Notifications on the left-hand side to customize when and where it will notify you. In the notifications page, you can be specific about what you want to be notified about, how often, and on which device. For email, you can choose to be notified right away with a daily summary, with a weekly summary, or not at all. In the second column, you can choose what to be notified about in the Canvas app. You'll need to set this up on your device first And if you set up a text message number, that will show up in the third column on the right. Some notifications I choose to leave turned off because I'll see them in my course, and some I'm okay getting an email summary at the end of the day, like when an assignment has been graded or my instructors left a submission comment. But there are a few things that I recommend setting immediate notifications for, specifically when your teacher posts a new course announcement and when someone sends you a conversation message. That's like an email message in Canvas. Those things you want to be up to date on all the time. Discussion post might be a good one to turn on in the Canvas app. This will send you a notification when someone posts on a discussion topic you've subscribed to. Then you can even respond right away in the app if you have time. Although most students are learning in a face-to-face classroom at this point, you might find yourself in a situation when you are in a Google meeting. Here is a little bit of guidance on what to do when you're in a Google meeting and something goes wrong. So if you lose connection to the Google Meet, try to rejoin the meeting. Check the meeting link in Canvas. If you're unable to rejoin, then continue with Canvas learning activities and review the Google Meet recording at a later time. If your internet stops working, contact the teacher to notify him or her about your issues. Complete any assignments or activities that can be accessed even without internet access, and then attempt to log in at a later time to complete the activities before 11:59 p.m. If problems persist, then request technical support. The contact information for our department teammates is listed here. Please feel free to contact any one of us if you are in need of any type of support. If we can't help you, then we will probably be able to point you in the right direction for the person who can help you. Thank you for joining us for this video. Remember that this was part 1 of a 3-part series, and we hope you will continue watching by clicking on part 2. Have a great day.